Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Anna. If you saw my last video, you know I gave an overview of what cochlear implants are and how they work. Well, today I'm sharing something more personal, my own experience with cochlear implants. So, grab a seat and let's get into it. But before we start, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications so you never miss any future videos. I'm throwing a disclaimer out there again that this is my experience only. I am not a licensed audiologist or surgeon. Everyone's experience will be different than mine. Just wanted to put that out there. Now, let's get to the questions. Were you born deaf or did you become deaf at a young age? I was born deaf. Everyone inherits genes from their parents that determine different things about their body. Some of these genes control how we hear. One of the important genes for hearing is called connexin 26. If there's a change or mutation in this gene, it can stop the ear from working properly. So there's two scenarios that could have happened. Either both of my birth parents each carry one copy of a mutated connexin 26 gene, and they did not have hearing problems because they also had a normal copy. But when both parents pass on the mutated version to their child, that child can be born deaf, and that's what happened. Or both of my birth parents had two copies of the mutated connexin 26 gene, which made them deaf. Since they each had the mutation, they passed it on to me. I don't really know much about my birth parents, so those are the only two scenarios that I can think of. What age did you get both your cochlear implants? So I got my first implant at the age of 2.5 years for my right ear, and my second one at the age of 13 for my left ear. How to explain your deafness to someone who might not know anything about it or understand it. So I like to use this analogy. Think of my hearing and brain like a fully charged iPhone or any smartphone. Just like a phone, my battery starts at 100% when I'm in a quiet and comfortable setting. However, when I'm in a noisy environment or a group setting, it's like having multiple apps open or using a really intense app that drains the battery faster. In those situations, I'm constantly processing sounds, reading lips, watching body language, and filling in gaps, essentially running multiple apps all at once. This requires a lot of brain power to keep up with everything going on around me. So just like an iPhone that loses its charge faster when it's working harder, my social battery drains quickly in those environments because I'm putting in extra effort to understand everyone and everything. It's not that I don't want to be social or engage, it's just that my battery needs to be conserved, recharged, and used wisely so I don't burn out. How long do your batteries last, and what do you do if it breaks? My batteries last 4 hours each for my right implant, but the left implant is 12 hours each because it is newer and up to date. But I have a charger for my batteries once they die. If it is not the battery that runs out, first thing I will try is changing the microphone cover or the wire for the transmitter, etc. If those don't work, then I have to send it back to my cochlear implant company service, and they will either repair it or replace a new one for me. So I don't have a spare, so in that time I won't have any hearing, which is why my parents are always encouraging me to train my left ear. Can you hear music, and what is it like listening with your cochlear implants? Yes, I can, but for me, it's harder for me to listen to the lyrics. Many cochlear implant users can enjoy and follow the beat of a song like I do. I always go for the songs that have the best beat in my opinion. Music through a cochlear implant may sound less clear and more robotic or electronic compared to normal hearing. Are two implants better than one? So This question is more for part 1, but the next question ties into this, so I decided to place this question in this video. But to answer the question, it depends entirely on the person. So if I had a lesser degree of hearing loss in this ear and a cochlear implant in this ear, then one implant might be better. But if you are completely deaf in both ears, like me, it would be better to have 2 implants for better speech understanding and noise and some directional hearing, which then leads to the next question. Why do you only wear one? I got my first implant at the age of 2.5 years on my right side, and I don't remember the training process. And then I got my second implant at the age of 13 for my left side, and training the left implant tends to give me migraines. I can hear warbly sounds, but on top of that, it sounds like nails scratching on a chalkboard. And I have trained my left ear by listening to music or watching TV with captions, but at some point the migraines start to kick in, and it's at times unbearable. So I just use one instead. I know I should have 2 just in case something ever does happen to my right implant. What are the best and worst things about your implant? The best thing is that I can hear with it. I absolutely hate the sound of vacuums, so I can choose to take my implant off to avoid sounds that I hate, which is amazing. Sleeping without the implant is also nice because I don't have to worry about sounds like people snoring, construction noises, airplanes, rain, police cars, etc. The worst thing is I can't hear as well as everyone. It's another extra thing to worry about, like, for example, changing the batteries, going to audiology appointments, etc. Hearing people don't have to worry about that. Also, I hate the weight of the implant sitting on my ear for long periods of time, and I have to take it off to relieve the pressure. What does a audiologist appointment look like? Every audiologist appointment is different for everyone. My audiologist appointments usually consist of first going into a sound booth with the audiologist in a different room, but can see me through a window. And usually I will listen to beeps and repeat back a series of words or sentences. This test assesses how well I can understand speech at different volumes. Once that is done, then I will go into the audiologist's office, and they then hook my implant to the computer to check to see how it's doing internally, and will ask if I'd like to adjust the volume. This stage is called programming. Then after that, we close up the appointment, usually just catching up on life and discussing when my next appointment should be. Maybe I will film a video and take you guys along with me to my audiologist appointment. So drop in the comments if you would like to see that. Have you experienced bullying because of your deafness? Sadly, yes, I have experienced bullying because of my deafness. It started around 7th grade in like the 3rd or 4th quarter, right after my spring break and right after I had my left cochlear implant procedure. It was a really tough time for me. I was called names like Deafy in the hallways, and people would make fun of my cochlear implants. It was constant, and I felt very isolated. The bullying really affected my confidence back then, and I remember feeling like I had to hide what I was going through behind a smile just to get through the day. I even reached out to a teacher hoping to get some support. But when they didn't take me seriously, it crushed me. I felt like no one really understood what I was dealing with. It was a lonely experience, and it led to a lot of self-doubt. But looking back, those experiences have only made me stronger. They've taught me the importance of standing up for myself and being proud of who I am. I've come to realize that my deafness doesn't define me. It's just a part of who I am, and now I'm using my story to help others who might be going through something similar. to show them that they're not alone and that they can overcome those challenges. Do you know American Sign Language? I only know the alphabet and some words, but I am not proficient at all. I grew up going to speech therapy right after my first cochlear implant surgery and had always been verbal and had no use for sign language. Although I do wish my high school had offered it as a foreign language because I definitely would have taken it then. What is hearing like compared to a regular hearing person? Hearing with cochlear implants is pretty close to what a regular hearing person might experience, but there are definitely some differences. Most of the time, sounds seem normal to me. Like, I can hear conversations, music, and everyday noises without much trouble. But there are moments when my hearing isn't quite up to par, like someone with natural hearing. Sometimes, if there's a lot of background noise, or if someone is speaking quickly or softly, I might have to ask them to repeat what they said. Unlike natural hearing, where your ears pick up sounds in full ranges of pitches and tones, cochlear implants are translating sound into electrical signals that my brain can understand. It's a bit like my brain is a computer processing the audio data, so I can pick up on voices, music, and everyday noises. But the way I interpret them is different. For example, I don't always catch the lyrics in songs because my brain prioritizes beats and rhythms over words. The cool part is that I still get to hear most of what hearing people do, just in a unique way that works for me. It's definitely not perfect, and there are some situations like in noisy environments where it can be challenging, but overall, cochlear implants allow me to experience the world of sound, even if it's a little different from the typical way. What was it like playing sports with cochlear implant? Playing sports with a cochlear implant was definitely an interesting experience, but it never stopped me from enjoying the games I love. I played soccer, basketball, golf, lacrosse, and softball. And each sport had its own challenges with my cochlear implant, but I adapted to make it work. For soccer, basketball, and lacrosse, which are more high contact sports, I had to be a bit cautious. There were times I'd worry about the implant falling off if I bumped into someone or if I headed the ball in soccer. But I made sure it was secure, and once the game started, I focused more on playing than on my implant. I never let it slow me down or make me hesitant. With golf and softball, I didn't have to worry as much about physical contact, so I could just concentrate on the game. One thing I did learn was how to pay attention visually. Since I rely on the breathing and body language a bit more, I had to make sure I was in the right position to catch directions from coaches or teammates, especially in noisy environments like a crowded field or gym. Overall, playing sports with a cochlear implant felt pretty normal. I just had to make a few adjustments and be mindful of my surroundings. It was a way for me to show that being deaf doesn't mean you can't play sports at a high level. I was out there just like everyone else, running, scoring, and competing with my team. What was it like going to school with cochlear implant? Going to school with cochlear implant was honestly pretty similar to what you expect for any other hearing student, but with a few little tweaks here and there to help me hear better. In elementary school, I used something called an FM system. It's a small device that connects directly to my cochlear implant and has a microphone that the teacher wears. This way, I could hear the teacher's voice more clearly, even if they were walking around the classroom or there was background noise. I used the FM system a bit in middle school too, but by the time I got to high school, I didn't feel like I needed it anymore. I felt the FM system was distracting, especially if the teacher stepped outside the classroom to have a conversation and you heard everything. In high school and college, I didn't use any assistive technology. I found that as long as I sat in the front of the classroom, I could hear the teacher just fine. It's a habit I still keep because it really helps me pick up on all the details. For the most part, going to school with cochlear implants was just like anyone else's experience. I just had to make a few adjustments to make sure I could hear clearly. But it didn't stop me from enjoying school or keeping up with my classmates. What tools help you with your deafness? I read lips when my battery dies or in noisy environments. I always use closed captioning when watching TV or having friends and family accommodate me, like repeat things for me or keep me in the loop if I miss things. And that is a wrap on this video. Thank you guys so much for watching and for letting me share my experience with you all. Remember, my experience is just one of many, and no two journeys are the same. If you found this video helpful or inspiring, please give this a thumbs up, share it with someone who might benefit from it, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. If you have any other questions or want to share your own experience with cochlear implants, leave a comment below or reach out to me on Instagram or TikTok. I love connecting with all of you. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.